Hello, everyone. We're just waiting for people to file in, and then we will start the webinar. Right now, we're just kind of waiting for people to continue filing in. We have almost 500 people registered, so it may take a few minutes, and then we'll be right back with you. All right, I want to make sure we're getting started on time. So my name's Carrie Campbell. I am the Assistant Director for Communications with University Housing. We've got a few people in the background working for us who will be answering questions as we go. So if you do see a Q&A button on your screen, you can go ahead and click that Q&A button, and that should enable you to ask a question. And some of those questions, Heather and John and Araceli will feed to me if it's a question that we see a lot. And for some questions, they will just answer you behind the scenes. So definitely take advantage of that as we go through to make sure we get to as many questions as possible, because I want to make sure we're answering those. Now, I will, at the end of the formal presentation, go ahead and answer any lingering questions that are in that queue. So keep on submitting those. And if we didn't get to yours during the presentation, or you didn't get a response, a typed response from our team, then hang around and we will make sure we get to you. So this webinar is for students who are moving in to undergraduate residence halls at UGA for fall 2025. If you're a graduate student or if you're planning on moving in for spring, those processes look a little different. So you're welcome to stay, but it will look a little different in how that works. So again, this is just fall 2025 for the undergraduate residence halls. All right, let's see if we can get going. There we go. All right, so we've got three kind of sections that I've organized our presentation in. So before move-in, during and move-in, and after move-in, I do want to bring your attention to the bottom of the screen in the red footer there. You'll see a website. So for every page that I've got on my presentation here, the applicable website is going to be down in the corner there, on the right corner, so that you can see more information if you want to. You're welcome to like walk through the website as we go, but I wanted to give that to you as an additional resource. We'll also be putting this on YouTube probably tomorrow or the next day, so you can see it again or share it with anyone who may need to see it. All right. Oh, go. Like, why? Okay, so first section before move-in, because we're going in chronological order. So wanted to let you know a little bit about doing some research on your rooms. As usual, y'all want to know more about your rooms than I knew about a house when I was building it. So this is what we can do since we don't have any in-person tours. You can look up your room's room plan on the housing website. The website is down there at the bottom of this page. And you can look up the floor plan, so to see where your room is on the floor in the doghouse. So only students have access to the doghouse. We keep those floor plans in there to make just a little more secure. So just make sure you're doing that. The most accurate room plans are going to be on the housing website. So there are some printed versions. There are Word versions floating around Facebook. But we've had the summer of new furniture. So there's a lot of new furniture in these floor plans with different dimensions. So make sure the one on the website is the one that you're paying attention to. All right, the second thing we want to talk about is your arrival time. So students can go ahead and choose an arrival time if they want to come on August 7th, 8th, or 9th. They could go ahead and do that, log into the doghouse, and you'll choose schedule my arrival, and you'll be able to pick a time and a day that works for you, if there are spaces left then. So the arrival time is just a 15-minute window for students to show up and check in. We're definitely giving you more than 15 minutes to move in. That would be just a cruel joke if we did that. So the arrival time is just so we can kind of stagger parking, lines for check-in, crowds in lobbies, things like that. So that's what that arrival time is. For students who want to move in August 10th, 11th, 12th, or up until 9 a.m. on the first day of class, the 13th, they do not need an arrival time. So you can show up at any time if you're arriving one of those days. All right, so we have some caveats for our arrival times here. So there's an early move-in day on August 7th that applies to Red Coat Band or sorority recruitment participants. So if the band or Greek Life has given us your name, when you log in to choose a time, you should see times on the 7th or 8th. Also with Hunker Down with Housing Volunteers, that's our move-in program. We have 300 something student volunteers who are helping, parking lots, move in, check in, all of that kind of stuff. They do not have a fee, but if you do move in on the 7th as part of sorority recruitment or Red Coat Band, you will see a $50 non-refundable fee applied to your student account. And I'm told that those will go on the student accounts on August 6th. So that's August 7th. On August 8th starts our regular move-in. So for the 8th and the 9th, you do need an arrival time. Again, those are a Friday and a Saturday. If you're coming the 10th, 11th, 12th, you do not need an arrival time. So just make sure you're scheduling those. I think before August 5th. August 5th, I think, is the last day you can schedule an arrival time in the doghouse. So just make sure if you have some specific needs related to your arrival and your stay in Athens, you are doing that in advance. Another email that students have gotten is bed height requests. So for the buildings that are listed here, people can go into the doghouse and request their bed be at one of these 3 standardized heights before move-in. If you don't make a request, there's just going to be the default height, which is the highest point. So that's only for these buildings. You can find this graphic on the new student hub at housing.uga.edu. You can download that. For the buildings that do not have that option, we want you to wait until after you move in, because there may not be enough room for you to lower both beds in the room. And if 2 roommates are making that decision independently, then the rest of your furniture may not fit in there. So wait until after you move in. You can submit a work request to adjust that bed. But if you are in one of these buildings and you would like to do that in advance, you can do that through July 31st by going onto the doghouse. And again, find that form. You can screenshot it here, or you can go to the new student hub. It is down at the bottom with the list of links that may give you a little bit more context for making that decision. All right, now specifically about move-in, I'm going to click on, let me see if my link works here. I may have to stop sharing. Oh, can y'all see that? It says that you can see it. So Heather, tell me if you can't see it.
You can see it.
You can? Okay. So I'm going to click one of these. I'm going to pick my favorite building, which is church. So as you can see, you've got every building listed here, and this is going to be move-in information specific to your building. So this one is just church as an example. If we have any alerts related to that, like parking or I don't even know what else it would be, that can go on this page. It will update the occupancy twice a day. We've got directions you can plug directly into your GPS or your phone. This is the most important part here. We have maps to long-term parking and unloading zones. So you can see here, it says that's construction zone. Where are we? We're in Church Hall. This is where they're building the new dining and wellness. So here's Church Hall. This is going to be your unloading zone in red, and it gives you a path to check in. You're checking in at Hill Hall, blah, blah, blah. And then you'll move to long-term parking over here. So these maps are there for every building. It also shows where the recycling will be, and I'll talk a little bit about that later because that's an epic part of move-in for us, and trash. So just make sure you're looking at that. We also have information on here about when the floor meeting is for that building. So that's when you meet with your RA and stuff. Closest dining halls, the desk number, all that stuff is going to be on each of those individual hall pages. So let me go back to my presentation. Oops, hold on, I have too many windows. I don't know why it's not expanding. I can't see it. Well, whatever, we'll just do this. And y'all can see my Canva menu over there. All right, next. Oh, there, magic. Okay, so before you move in, we want to make sure that you've got your housing PIN set up. This is your personal identification number that will, in conjunction with your UGA card, allow you access to your building. The reason we want you to do this ahead of time is because there'll be a time on August 7th and 8th and 9th, usually around 6 p.m. when we will shut off public access to the building because we're no longer like watching those doors with physical eyes. So we'll shut the, or we'll turn the card readers on, lock the doors. You will only be able to get into that building with your UGA ID and your PIN number. We're going to send out an email on how to do that PIN number, but it's also at the top of the housing website at housing.uga.edu. You can just go in and choose a PIN. You do need to have your card, your physical card first before you do that. All right, another thing, kind of important note we like to talk about before move-in is the community guide. So the community guide is a super fun 30-something page document that is part of your housing contract, and it does have all the policies and need to know information for living on campus. So that includes access, who's allowed access, visitation, which I will talk about later, fire safety, like where to go if there's a fire drill. It has a roommate bill of rights in there so that we can kind of establish some baseline ground rules of mutual respect for roommates. Information about cooking and what's allowed, appliances that are allowed, how to do laundry, all that stuff is going to be the community guide. Link is at the bottom here, or you can just Google it. You will see that link again if you're a student, because we want to make sure that you are at least giving that a cursory glance before you move in. All right, a couple of call outs from the community guide. You can see there the list of things not permitted. Some of those may be like surprising to you, but they are because they have been problematic in the past. So essential oil diffusers basically just spew out mildew and allergens. Plug-in air fresheners, same thing. Contact paper does not come off things and it ends up ruining things. Halogen lights, fire hazard. No nails or screws in the walls. Again, electrical appliances with an exposed heating element. So you can use your imagination on what that would be. Of course, weapons. Lofts that are not provided by University Housing. Bed risers, personal air conditioners and space heaters, personal routers. That one is on here because there is wireless access throughout all of the residence halls. And the personal routers actually interfere with that by, if the official pause secure wireless network senses that there's already coverage, maybe in that room, it'll kind of pull back a little bit. So basically the personal routers are going to interfere with the official secure Wi-Fi that we have in the buildings. And then this year, self-adhesive LED strips. Do not bring those and put them on your ceiling or your wall because they just pull off the paint. If you want some LED strips, that's fine, but like use command strips or painter's tape or something else to hang them up there. Last thing on this page, I did want to say that if you are ordering a mini fridge microwave combination through the University Housing, which some buildings already have mini fridges and microwaves, Some have full-size fridges and microwaves. You are welcome to bring your own, but if you're renting through our partner and you want them to deliver it before move-in, then you need to do that by July, excuse me, 24th. Sorry, behind my little window there. July 24th. And that can be found on the new Student Hub too, that link. All right, this is the time of year we get questions about mail and packages. So do not send mail or packages ahead of time. If you haven't checked into the building, it's confusing to our staff who actually may not be working at a desk then. The desks won't be open. But it's confusing to the mail carriers as well because you don't technically live there. So make sure to schedule all your packages to arrive after your check-in date. And the mailing addresses are going to be on those individual hall web pages I showed you earlier, but they'll also are listed on the website under whatever your building is when you go to explore options. So make sure you're using that address and your mail and packages will get to you. They are all sent to central mail rooms for each area or hall. So for example, Brumby Hall has a mail room for Brumby Hall. However, Churchill, Boggs Mill, Lipscomb, they all share the same mail room in Hill Hall. So it just depends on how big your building is and where that mail and packaging or mail and packages will go. Okay, now I know I'm covering a ton of information, but we will be sending one more communication to students before move-in, and you will see that on July 28th. All of the links will be in there to those individual hall pages with the move-in maps and stuff like that. Parking passes will be in there, so if you can print those ahead of time, that'd be great. Also the link to set up your PIN and to the community guide. If you're a parent or supporter and you feel like you are missing information or your student didn't get information, we do have a communication archive. So if you go to the housing website, you can find our communication archive, and it has all the communications that we send out to large groups of students, obviously not individual students, but they can also check their messages in the doghouse and they will see those communications there as well. All right, that was just before move-in, y'all. I got notes. We're rolling. All right, during move-in. This is my favorite slide. So how to load a trailer for a move-in. Don't. If you are planning on bringing a trailer, know that you will not be permitted in the unloading zone because most of our unloading zone parking lots are just too small to maneuver any kind of trailer or vehicle that may take up more than 2 parking spaces. So super oversized vehicles and trailers are not going to fit in those unloading zones. They will not be permitted there. You can bring it, but you will be parking close to downtown basically and taking up 2 spaces there as opposed to in our unloading zones, which are really in demand spaces. So that's just a pro tip. If you have that goes for like people, I've seen people bring horse trailers or I don't know, but big old U-Hauls. Just make a note, you will not be allowed in the unloading zones, taking up more than 1 space. It's better to bring 2 cars than to bring a trailer. You can have 1 car in the unloading zone at a time. We'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like. So you got your arrival time, like that's the time you just show up, like roll up. Generally the best option is if students kind of hop out of the car, go to the check-in location, get their key, show their ID, opposite order there. And then go check the room. Go check the room to make sure like the blinds aren't broken or, it missed its cleaning. We are checking those in advance and you should see like a little post-it on your door that says, yeah, we checked this room on whatever date. But if you see anything that needs to be fixed or furniture that's missing or whatever, just make note of that. And you can put a work request in later. So you will be verifying, you'll get an email where you'll be asked to verify the condition of the room upon arrival. So it's a lot easier to do that before you get all your stuff in there. So students go do that. Parents start, unloading the car, supporters can all pitch in to start organizing, get a bin, stuff like that. So parking pass will happen when you arrive to the unloading zone. You'll get it in your email. We will have some if you forget it, but try to bring those. It'll just speed things up a little bit. So there's a 1 hour limit in that unloading zone. So that is the parking lots closest to the buildings. And there's a 1 hour limit. So we're gonna put that pass in your windshield and start like texting you incessantly or knocking on your door if you go past that 1 hour. Because we want other people to have the same good experience, right? We want them to be able to get into that unloading zone as well. So my suggestion is get all your stuff out of the car, check it in the room during that hour, and then move that car to long-term parking. And then you can take as long as you want to set up your room, go to Target, whatever. But you've got that 1 hour to kind of get everything out of the room or out of the car before you have to move that car to somewhere that's a little bit farther away. Now, if I've got Blackdale and Miller residents, you've got a process that's very similar, but it has an extra step. You can see here in yellow. There is almost no parking right next to Blackdale and Miller. So what we do is we'll block off the road that goes along. I guess it's behind it. It might be in front of it. It's in front. In front of it. And we're only letting people park along curb in that road and using that as an unloading zone. So before you even get on the road, Cloverleaf, you will need to be showing us a pass. But first, go to the staging area. And you're like, where's the staging area, Carrie? Well, it's on that map for Blackdale and Miller Hall on the move-in page. We will also be sending links to it to students who are in Blackdale and Miller. So just keep a note of that. Same 1 hour time limit applies to that unloading zone. And then you move to long-term parking. You just have one extra step because of the limited parking there. You go to the staging area, you wait to be dismissed to the unloading zone. You're in the unloading zone for an hour, then you move to long-term. Okay, so I talked briefly about this before, but check-in is make sure you have your PIN set up. You'll show your student ID, so make sure you have that, or at least you know your student ID number or have like a driver's license or something you can show. But your ID is going to be a lot faster. You'll get your key, and then you can check your room. Again, like I said before, make sure you're looking at it. Is there any maintenance issues? Is the bed up like you asked it to be or whatever? And you will get an email upon check-in that is asking you to verify that the contents of your room are good to go. All right, so here's kind of a large look at the process. You get your PIN, you get your parking pass, you get your arrival time. That's all before you move in. Then when you check in, you kind of check the room before you move things in, unload all your stuff, use that hour in that unloading zone to make sure you get everything out of the vehicle. Then you move your vehicle to long-term parking. Then you can set up and organize for as long as you like. Again, at some point during the evening, it's usually 6 o'clock. I don't know if that's the same day this year or the same time this year. They will turn on the access doors, so students will have to use their IDs to start getting in, and they'll have to start escorting any parents or supporters that are coming in with them. So that's why we want you to get you that PIN number in advance. All right, this is like the half of move-in for us is trash and recycling. You can see there on the right how much recycling we had last year during move-in. This is move-in only. We do collect cardboard, plastic film, and styrofoam. And if you haven't seen what 1,100 pounds of styrofoam looks like, it's basically a basketball court full of giant trash bags of styrofoam. So tons of recycling that we are keeping from going in the landfill. It helps us if you like just unbox your stuff before you pack, just don't bring it. That would be great for us. But if that's not an option, then try to separate it before you bring it down to us. So there will be trash, and wherever there's trash, there's going to be recycling and volunteers sorting that right next to it. And for the plastic film, the recyclable plastic film is stretchy. I'm pretending like I have film here. Stretchy. If it's stretchy, it's recyclable like a grocery bag. If it tears, like oh my God, I'm dating myself, but like the plastic they put on a CD cover. Parents will know what I'm talking about. It's crinkly. That is not recyclable. So help us out with that. It's a huge part of what we do in recycling, and we have tons of volunteers dedicated to doing that to keep us from having to dump all that in the landfill annually. All right, so this slide is just what the vibes are during your move-in. You can see cardboard recycling up there. That's just one building. You can see the bins in the middle, what they look like. So you will be able to check out bins for an hour. They are first come, first serve for an hour. So you can use those to get things to and from the parking lot and up the elevators and everything. If you're moving in on the 7th, then you will see some lovely ladies like this in blue vests, helping with parking and everything. If you're moving in on the 8th or 9th, you'll see people over here like on the right in t-shirts helping move in. So, and this is just like some fun to look forward to in the middle there. All right, we're finally to after move-in. How are we doing on time? We're doing pretty good, okay. Visitation. I talked a little bit about this before. So visitation is the times that residents are allowed to bring guests into the building. So there's two types of visitation. The first type is going to be in the all first year buildings that are listed there under 1. Visitation is permitted basically until 2 a.m. On the weekdays. You can bring someone in the building that doesn't live with you until 2 a.m. on the weekdays and 24/7 on the weekends. Visitation 2, you can see the halls listed there. There's no restriction. It's just visitation permitted 24/7. Now, having said that, like, are we throwing people out at 2 a.m.? No, we're not. Like, we're not knocking on doors and throwing people out. We're not checking beds or anything like that. It's just to be respectful of the neighbors who are living there. And, to make sure that we are keeping the building as secure as we can. All right, more trash. This is trash for after you move in. So we do have a learning curve for students once they move in. There is a trash can and a recycling bin in each room. So y'all can use those as you will. You can bring your own, whatever. Those do need to stay in the room though. Students or residents are responsible for taking their own trash and recycling out to the outside dumpsters. Do not be throwing that stuff in the bathroom trashes for our residential building services custodial staff to get. Take it outside just on your way out. There's a recycling bin or trash can for every building. Compost we also have in the residence halls. There's usually one space, like one big bin for each building in a common area. So you can look for that, and our Office of Sustainability interns will come by and pick that compost up as well. All right, so after you move in, I get this question a lot, is like, what are students gonna do? Why would I move in on August 8th if class doesn't start until the 13th? So we do plan a lot of things in that first week. The first event is gonna be first night on August 9th, Saturday. That is a university-wide event, so students can look forward to that. Again, the website down at the bottom there, welcome.uga.edu, is going to have all these events listed. Residence Hall Association does Dog Fest, which is a kind of a big carnival with like snow cones and popcorn and carnival games and stuff on Myers Quad on the 10th. So that's another option to go and to meet people. The floor meetings will be with RAs the first week, usually first day of class or the day before. And that's just a chance to get to know your RA and all the other people on your hall. A lot of times those RAs will be, I'm leading a group down to go to first night, or I'm taking a group to Dog Fest, or we're all going as a group to freshman welcome. Like, that's going to happen too, so look for those. North of the Arch is an opportunity for students to go downtown and kind of interact with businesses there. And there's usually like a scavenger hunt and prizes and stuff. That's during the day. And then freshman welcome is going to be at Sanford Stadium. And that is where all the freshmen go onto the field, and they make the big Super G and get their picture taken. And there's t-shirts, and the orientation leaders are there. And this is a big party. All right, so that's all the fun stuff. This is some other stuff people can do while they're waiting for class to start between move-in and class. Get a friend, practice going to your classes, know where your classes are. Try out all 5 dining halls. Don't just go to Bolton. Dining tells us this every year, like everybody's just coming to Bolton because they know where it is. Like try all 5 of the dining halls. Maybe you'll find one that like fits your vibe. Ramsey Free Week is when the fitness classes at the Ramsey Center are free, so you can go try those out. And then community council elections for individual buildings will be starting beginning of September. So community council is basically like student government for individual buildings. So, there's a president, there's a vice president, there's a treasurer, all that kind of stuff. And they are, making the decision with the budget. They are figuring out what kind of events to have, figuring out what to do if they want to buy t-shirts or water bottles or rent a bouncy house. That's what the community councils do. And then the fall engagement fair is when all the student organizations kind of come together, and you can go kind of check out and chat with other students about what that is for the fall. And there'll be another one in the spring as well. Last note I have before I start answering questions, let me make sure I got out all my notes here, is Dog Path. So Dog Path is what we call our residential curriculum. So you may hear this, or it may be just kind of woven into everything that the RAs and the hall directors are doing. But anytime we have an event, or, even just like we're taking people to an event, or we're hosting a speaker, or making cupcakes or whatever, it's all tied into our residential curriculum, and you can see the 4 kind of learning outcomes that we want to see. So, as a result of living on campus, people are contributing to thriving communities, and it's by learning these skills basically while they're living on campus with others. So you can learn more about that website, again, down at the bottom. That's what we call our residential curriculum. A lot of schools are moving to having that because we know that learning takes place outside the classroom as well as inside the classroom. All right, a question. Now we're to the questions. Heather, do we have any questions? Can I see them? I don't know.
Yes, the first question we have is
Okay.
Oh, are you ready?
Yeah, I was just seeing if I could see them, but go.
Oh, can you see them?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll stop talking.
I see 6 questions. I'm going to start with the earliest one, which is, okay. JR says, for unloading, do parents have to be signed in with the student each time? For example, if you're going to long-term parking, do you have to come back and sign you back in? So this question is basically about guests. So during the day, when our appointment times are open for people to move in, the doors will be open and you can come and go because our staff have eyes on those doors all day long. Again, at like 6 o'clock-ish, they will shut off access to that building, and your student will have to come down and escort you if you're not with them to get back up into the building. All right, next is Anonymous. Anonymous is a super fan. They're at every one of my webinars. My son didn't get his UGA card at orientation. Do you need to go back and get it before move-in? You can get it that day, but again, it may not work. Sometimes it takes 24 hours for the access computers. That's like, what I'm saying. It takes 24 hours sometimes for the cycle to go through to update the access information. So it depends on how far away you are. If you want to make a trip and get it before then, that's fine. Or if you just want to come a couple hours early, they can go to the desk to be let in, but we don't want everyone doing that because the desk people will get overwhelmed. So it's up to you. If you want to come get it, that would be the best option. If you feel like you're too far or something, then it's not going to be that big of a deal. Just know that he will not be able to get in, and he may not be able to get in and out. All right, Anonymous, can you cover the process to visit our kids during the school year? Where do you park? Do they student escort you? So you're gonna need to park in a pay parking lot. Where that is may depend on where your student's building is. But the housing lots are pretty much enforced 24/7. So I don't know. I'm not sure about the housing lots, but it'll say on the sign like when it's enforced. So you'll probably need to park in a like the question's gone now, but whatever. You'll need to park in a pay lot like the Tate Center or the Hall Street deck. And then when you get to your student's building, just call them. They'll come down, let you in. They're not going to sign you in or out because you're on camera. But they can come down and get you, and they need to escort you as long as you're in the building. All right, I'm trying to go in order. All right, dining. We got a question about dining. I had heard the dining was open as of the 7th, but if that's not accurate, I don't know. I had heard they were open on the 7th. If they're not open the 7th, they'll definitely be open on the 8th because they always open on our first day of move-in. But I would go by their schedule. All right. Christy says, for the student to go check out the room before you start moving stuff in. If the room needs work or is missing something, what do you do? So if the student doesn't need to do it right then, but what they'll need to do is maybe take a picture or something, and then later, doesn't have to be right then, submit a work request online. So if the blinds are broken or, their desk chair is missing, snap a little photo, continue your move in, and then they can submit a work request at a later time, and they do that online. So I'm not expecting you to take up your whole hour tracking down a desk chair. All right, Susan says, can you arrive before your arrival time? You can arrive to town before your arrival time, but do not arrive to the parking lot or to the check-in before your arrival time. Try to hit that window. I get that, if you're driving 7 hours, hitting a 15-minute window may not be the easiest thing, but try to hit that window. They will definitely not let you in beforehand. But we do understand if you're late for some reason. So late is better than early in the arrival times. All right, Anonymous says, are liners provided with trash cans? They are not. What size are the trash cans? I mean, that's a great question. I don't know how to answer that. They're not quite like kitchen size, but they're not like bathroom size. They're like that middle office-y size. Let me see. I don't have one. Oh, I do. Let me show you my trash, y'all. It's actually recycling at the moment. Ta-da! Oh, it's tan. You can't see it. That's hilarious. Hold on. Oh, there you go. Oh, okay. That's how big it is. Let me see if I'm a measure. I got a rule up here. It's 16 inches tall and 14 inches wide. 14 by 10. There you go. Don't say I never did anything for you. Okay. Got another question from Christy. Does the family wait to start about moving to long-term parking? So again, you're welcome to come to the lobby with students, but we're trying to keep the lobby as clear as possible. And we've got hundreds of people going in and out. So again, if you've got an issue with your room, you can tell the staff or you can submit that work request later. But I wouldn't let you stop you from moving in. Again, all those rooms are checked in advance. So you shouldn't really see anything wrong with it. But we're just saying, it got missed or something happened in the 2 days since it was checked. We don't know. All right, Anonymous says, my child's orientation is the 11th. When should we get our UGA card? I don't know the answer to that question, honestly. But I would say if your orientation is not till the 11th, just go get your card when you move in. It's probably the best idea. For Blackdale and Miller move-in, do we bring our student to Blackdale and Miller and check in and then go to the holding area? That's a great question. So no, everybody goes straight to the staging area is what we're calling it. In your vehicle, go straight to the staging area. Just hang out there. The staff will release you to the unloading zone. All right, how are we doing on time? Okay, we're not too bad. All right, Michelle says, I understand the rolling bins are for dorms with elevators. Do you have any tips for dorms without elevators, like Boggs? So John, I don't know if you can hear me or if you're listening. Sometimes we have student organizations who will help people move things where there are no elevators, but I don't know if that's the case this year. I feel like it is, but you're right, there aren't any elevators, so it's gonna be a sweaty day. But do look for those students. I feel like there are. All right, I'm done with that. All right. Anonymous says we're planning to make a second trip on the 9th after we move in essentials on the 8th. Yeah, you will need to hard park in long-term parking because you already had your unloading zone chance, if that makes sense. Yeah, I guess bring the big and the heavy stuff on the first day. Let's see. Okay, Anonymous says, can you arrive at Blackdale and Miller staging area slightly before your arrival time? No, I mean, try not to. Again, it's an arrival time. The arrival time is for the staging area. So there may be a line at the staging area. That's why we have people there. And again, you know, if there's people in the unloading zone and if we are asking them to move and they haven't moved, then there may be a line forming at the staging area because they're not moving out of the unloading zone. So arrive at your arrival time, as close to it as possible. Let's see. Does the room key come with a keychain? Heather's answering that one. It does not. Let's see. I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss any from earlier. Okay. Can I cover security at UV East? Yeah, so UV East are apartment buildings for first year students only. So buildings, what is it? J, K, and L are all first year students. And there is exterior entrances to those apartments. The breezeways are camera covered, the laundry rooms, the common area, the picnic, it's all covered with cameras. And the UV office is open until 10 p.m. every night. And then after that, they've got security and RA rounds covering the breezeways and everything. Great question. All right, let's see. Leah says, how many people move in during each time slot? So that's a great question. So sometimes it depends on the building. So if we've got a building that's like 1,000 people and it has a lot of parking, then we can fit, you know, 25 people, 30 people in an hour. If we have a smaller building that doesn't have a lot of parking, then we've set up those time slots to be maybe 15 people an hour. So it just depends on the building and the capacity of that building. All right, Heather's answering that. What, Anonymous says, what dorms got new furniture? It's a long list. O House, Myers, I feel like Payne. There's more. Oh, yeah, there's more, but I don't remember them. I have a list. Sorry. Let's see. We mentioned maintenance requests for moving furniture. How do we find out how the room will be arranged and the heights of the beds and Brumby? Okay, so if you look at the floor plans, which let me see if I can, I'm going to stop this for a second and go to the housing website and reshare. so that y'all can see what that looks like. Give me a second. We'll go to Brumby since you asked about Brumby. Go to, let me share again. Share. That one. All right, so I'm gonna click over here on room plan search. Boop. I don't know. Let's pick 642. I'm just making up numbers. I don't even know if that is a number. It is. Okay. So when you go to the room plan for your individual building, the room plan shows the furniture at its default setting, if that makes sense. So when we put the furniture back after doing our deep clean and everything, this is how it's reset, if that makes sense. This is the default layout. So that's true for all of the room plans. So that's how you'll know like what it will look like. I will say that especially in Brumby, Black Yellow Miller, Russell, that furniture is it's real easy to move. Like it's on wheels or like tiny little casters, and it's pretty easy to roll around even by yourself. So that would be what I could do. Of course, we can do that. Those beds will be lofted because Brumby is one of those buildings that you cannot request in advance. They're just going to be default at the highest point. But that's a good way to know like what to expect when you walk in. All right, I got to get back to my questions. Stop. Okay, I'll just have me big on the screen. All right, let's see. All right. Natalia asked about O House. O House got new room furniture, not common area furniture. Whatever's on the room plans on the website is going to be accurate because we asked our facilities people to provide that to our web developer, and the web developer edited all of the room plans with the new furniture. So that's true for Myers. You'll see if you look at Myers, the room plans will not match the photos because that furniture is not all in the rooms yet. So when we get it all loaded in there, we will put new pictures on there. Same for O House. That's scheduled to happen the last week of July. We'll get new pictures for O House and for Myers. All right. All right. Videla says, can you pull up a floor plan for expanded in McWhorter? I cannot because I don't know what room numbers that would be off the top of my head. I would have to know an expanded room number in order to pull that up, but your students can go do that. Again, you just go to the housing website, click on that room plan search. They can type in their room number and they will see that. All right. Let's see, I'm trying to, okay. I answered that one. Did Creswell get new furniture? Creswell did not have new furniture. The only furniture in Creswell are the beds and the chairs. It does not yet have new furniture. I don't think it will get new furniture because it's going to be renovated in a year. So sorry, Creswell. Let's see. Are the beds lofted to the highest level at move-in? So Stephanie, they are generally lofted at the highest level unless students go and fill out that form and request them to be at a different height. So let me go pull up what that looks like. I can go pull up that PDF that I was looking at before. Let's see. And I will share it with you. Let me share. So many windows. Okay. Share. All right, so this is us. We're on the new student hub. Here we've got links to our well-being, to the community guide that I talked about before. Here's our virtual tour where you can click and drag around and kind of walk through all the buildings. I'm gonna go all the way to the bottom here, and it says 17 position adjustable beds. So there's pictures. Oh, look at that. Fully, middle, lowest. And then the PDF that I showed you before is here. So you can get the measurements. So you can see it says a minimum of 52 inches of clearance under the bed with a mattress height of 62 inches. So that's helpful, but you can kind of see from the pictures too. Thanks to Brent. That looks like Russell Hall. Yep, that's Russell Hall where he took these. So FYI, that's there. All right, I don't think we have any more questions. I gotta go back to my window. Here we go. We got a couple. We got a couple. Would rather forget new furniture, rather did not get new furniture. It's pretty new. Where's the link to long-term parking per hall? All right, I'll navigate that to you, but we will also be sending these links to students on July 28th. So we're gonna go up to incoming students. We're just at the housing website. Move in. Go down here. We're gonna go to during move-in, and there we go. So that's the list for all the buildings. So for example, if I click on Blacktail and Miller, you've got this map here that tells you where the staging area is, and then where the unloading zone is here in red, and then the path to long-term parking as well. Thanks to John for updating the maps. So again, woo, that's where you'll find all those. We will email these links to your students, but we'll also make sure that we put them on our communication archive, which you can get to from up here. Come on, communication archive. So you can filter. And there's where we told them they could adjust their bed. There's where we told them that they could schedule their arrival time. There's where we told them they could choose their room. So that's a good resource for parents as well and supporters. All right, let's see. Do students or staff clean the bathrooms? So the suite style and apartment bathrooms are cleaned by students. Our staff only clean the community bathrooms. And then we have a question about carts. So the carts will be there for several weeks as people are moving in and out stuff. And then they'll leave maybe 2 carts year round in case people need to bring stuff. They'll have access to a couple of carts year round. But the majority of them are going to be hanging around there for the first couple of weeks because we know people continuously moving in and out things. All right. Oh, it looks like Anonymous says, do each hall have a different color? I don't know what that means. Like they're painted a different color? No, they're not a different color on the map either. So no. Let's see. How do you attach headboards in Creswell? With zip ties, that's how people do it. Got a question about long-term parking. So even if you have a parking pass for one of those unloading zones, by the 10th, you're gonna need to move your vehicle to the lot where your parking pass is for, if that makes sense. That was not articulate, but on the 10th, move your vehicle to where your parking pass, where you have a permit for, to whatever that lot is. Because they will start checking for parking there. Let's see. Josh says, do the dorms have different floor themes? Some buildings do. So like Russell has every 2 floors, there's a different color scheme. Brumby has the same thing. Blackdale and Miller has different trees, like graphics of different trees for each floor. So it really just depends on the building. Question about packages. Your student's address will be sent in that email. It's also on the housing website. I'll show you an example. If you click on the building, like your student's building, I want to pick McWhorter. you can see down here, it says mailing address. So that's what your student's going to use to put into Amazon, for you to send them anything. Anytime they order anything online or DoorDash or whatever, put that, that's the address they want to use. And it will go to Rooker Hall in this case, because that's where the mailroom is. They'll get an email. It'll say, hey, you have a package. Come pick it up. They need to just show their ID, get their package. All right. Ooh, sorry, I'm not gonna do that. All right, I talked about Parking Pass, we talked about the Googles. Okay. Anonymous was Araceli, you're answering this, but I'm gonna answer it again. So there were different colors of different lines on the Google map that I showed. I'm gonna go back to that and tell you what those mean.
Carrie,
Yeah.
can you fully open up the map? We're getting a lot of questions about
Okay.
what all that means. Can you show them how to fully open it up so they can see
Yeah.
everything?
I'll do that. All right, so I'm going to move in. I'm going to during move in. I'm just going to I'll pick Morris this time. Let me click on the map. Pew. There we go. I'm going to zoom in. Ooh, hi. All right, so here we are at Morris Hall. This is red is going to be your unloading zone. So you can see that's small amount of parking, but close to the building. The path you take from the unloading zone, like walking or with your stuff to get into the building, is marked in yellow. And then this blue over here is the long-term parking. So that's kind of I'll go do a different one so you can see how different they are. I'll go do Blackdale and Miller again since that one had a complex map. Woo. Okay, that was an aggressive zoom. Okay, so staging area for Blackdale and Miller is way down here on Hull Street near downtown. Then it shows you how to drive to the unloading zone. So this whole road of Cloverhurst is the unloading zone. There'll be blocking traffic right here where I'm waving my cursor and it says Bolton Dining kind of right there. They won't let you on this road. Then you'll go down, you'll park, unload as long as you want for Blackdale and Miller, which is here. I don't know why that says Creswell a lot, but that's Blackdale and Miller. And then once you're done and you move to long-term parking, you're driving out on the blue mark over to the Hull Street parking deck, which is incidentally the same long-term parking as Morris Hall, which is right over here. So right there it is. So what those maps show. You can see on the left of the screen, we've indicated those. It'll zoom in on it for you. Enter the staging area, tells you where the staging area is. We'll have a little tent set up, people will be there. So that's how that works. All right, we are at 8 o'clock. So I think we got most of the questions. Again, if you've got more, feel free to call, email, chat us on the website. We want to make sure you have all the resources you need and all the information to help you feel comfortable in making UGA your new home. Thank you to Heather and John and Araceli for working those questions in the background. Look for this on YouTube. All right, let me end. It's the hardest part. All right, bye y'all. Go Dogs.